Hi, welcome to the Gamesplainer. I'm Jeff the Gamesplainer, and today I'm gamesplaining Anachrony. Anachrony is a 1 to 4 player game put out by Mindclash Games. I picked it up off Kickstarter and received my copy a few months back. I understand that it's getting its retail release this week, so I've made a point of getting this video out so that anyone picking up the game has a chance to watch my Gamesplanation and see how the game runs, and if they actually want to buy in and get this particular game. As you're watching the two parts of the video, you will notice that there are some really extraordinarily good minis which I got in the Kickstarter. I believe they're available as an expansion. And they're well worth getting, and just makes the game super pretty. This game is a time travel worker placement game. It does both things really well. I've only had a few games of it. I haven't seen anyone try to play the game yet without touching the time travel element, but I believe it's possible to get through it, but I don't think you're going to win if you leave that element alone. However, it makes it super easy to gamesplain because we're able to gamesplain the worker placement section, and that'll be part 1 of the video, and then we can talk about time travel as a separate issue in part 2. The beauty of this game is that because time travel exists, at the earlier parts of the game you can decide that you need some resources or you want some resources, and you can just get them. But then you're going to have to fulfill those resources later in the game and make sure you basically send the resource back for yourself to be able to use earlier in the game. It does your head in a little bit if you try and think about it too much or over-explain it. Just accept it. Time travel exists. I can get stuff, but I'm going to have to do that later to make it work. This is a super big box. Look at the size of this thing. Yeah, really, really big box. I'm only holding the lid here just because my muscles aren't strong enough to hold up that entire game for that long. Really, really heavy game. There's lots and lots of bits to it. I put up on my Instagram a picture of the game when I was playing it with a group a few weeks back, and one of my friends who I play with in another group, her only comment was, "Too much! It looks really busy, really, really busy on the table." It's not, however. The busyness is simply because it's quite a large board. You're playing off your own board as well, so there's a capital city board which everyone gets to play in, and that's where the worker placement stuff comes in. And you've got your own city which you can do a whole bunch of stuff in. On your own city, there's a whole bunch of cards get added to it. There's a whole bunch of cards that will be picked up from the capital city, and there's obviously everyone has their pieces which are minis in my version, but I think they're little hex-shaped cards in the base game. Everyone has these, like 6 of them that they're able to place, plus you've got all these little triangle things that you use to decide if you're going to get any resources sent back to you from the future. There's a whole bunch of different resource cubes. There's water markers or tokens. There's a lot going on. Oh, and also you've got recruits. I believe in the... this is a heads up for you. In the videos, I refer to them as employees. Recruits, I think, is the appropriate terminology for it. I just fall into employees for some reason. I don't know. That's what came out. So deal with it. I do apologise about the incorrect naming of those, but you'll understand what I'm talking about as you look through that. The other things to watch out for... within my Gamesplanation is I tend to not really use the names of resources. So if I was, for example, if I was to be gamesplaining Catan, I may or may not use wood, stone, brick as the resources. I might just be saying the brown ones, the orange ones, the grey ones. I think that's what's in Catan. Anyway, we're not talking about Catan, we're talking about Anachrony. So in this Gamesplanation, there are 4 resource types. There's the yellow ones or gold ones, the grey, the green, and the purple ones. It's as easy as that. They've got funky names, like I think it's Neutronium is the purple one, something like that. We forget the names of them. It's easier if we talk in colours than in words like Neutronium, which don't really have any basis in what we're actually looking at, because I don't know what that is. With Anachrony, this is a thematic game. What you've got to be really careful of, and this is actually my one little criticism of how the rules are laid out, not how the game plays, but how the rules are laid out. When we hear Anachrony, it's a time travel game. There are things that sit back here thematically that sit in your head that you make assumptions. Those assumptions aren't necessarily correct. The one big assumption, and you'll understand this one when you start watching it, I think it comes up in part 1, the one big assumption that I made on the first reading of the rules was about the research and the scientists. When you research, which is one of the things you can do with the worker placement in the capital, you get a triangle or square or round shaped card with a little icon on it. You then use those markers, those research markers saying this is research I've done, to build what's called a super project, which is a large building which you can pick up through the game. Now the issue is, or the issue I found that I had, was that I made an assumption that research is intellectual, so therefore you're going to hang on to those cubes, you've just got to show that you've got them to be able to build this particular building. That's not the case. It is used the same as a resource where you spend it. You no longer have it once that building is built. There's a couple of little thematic elements like that that don't quite sit with assumption, but if you can get around those assumptions and actually read the rules as what they are, it is quite a straightforward rule book. There was a thread on Board Game Geek about, there's a whole bunch of threads about the rules and explaining the rules, or questions about the rules. And I think one of the German backers got on there and said that they had zero problems understanding the rules, and they don't understand why everyone is struggling with these rules so much. I think the reason people struggle with these rules is the assumptions that are based on the thematic material of the game. It's such a good game. So there's just those couple little things. Make sure you read the rules with every word. Don't just kind of gloss over them with a thematic idea in your head, and you'll be fine. It does make sense. Once I clarified a few things or read through where other people had asked the same questions that I was looking for, it made sense. So the Gamesplanation that I've done is I've broken it down, as I said, into worker placement section, which is how to place your guys from your side of the board onto the capital and what each of the spaces in the capital actually does. And you could actually play, theoretically, you could play the game just purely as that. Remembering that worker placement games in their very nature have certain numbers of hexes showing what's available to be done, but once they're taken, they can't be taken again. And your little cards or your minis will cover up those spots so other people can't use them. I don't think I was stated that in specific terms, because I assume that people understand what worker placement is, but if you're bringing a new person to the game, which is what these videos is all about, it's something that might be worth just stating. Once that's taken, can't be taken again. If you haven't got it yet, I really like this game. I think it's a wonderful game. Out of all of the Kickstarters that I backed last year, that was 2016, this was the one that I was the most excited about getting. That I was just sitting on the edge of my seat to get. There's so much to it. I love games with heaps of bits. Other people get overwhelmed by heaps of bits. Heaps of bits are cool. Yeah, if you see a game on the table, just the photos of games on the table with heaps and heaps of little bits everywhere, that excites me. That's where my wheelhouse is. Other people much prefer a game like, say, Kingdom Builder, which it's so straightforward. There's just the boards on the table, and you've got your houses that you put on there. It doesn't look messy or overwhelming. I really love that game as well, and I'll probably do a Gamesplanation of it in the future, but this one is super heavy in terms of the amount of stuff going on. It takes a little while to set up. It can be overwhelming. Be prepared for that. All you need to do is take each step as in line and just go one at a time through each bit. This is what this does, this is what this does, this is what this does. And once you understand it, it's actually not messy, it's not overwhelming. There's bits there, I'm not going to have to touch them for a while unless I do this. That's all that's going on with that. So I hope that this helps you get Anachrony to the table. I hope that my Gamesplanation might actually help some other people decide, yeah, I actually like the look of that game, I think I'm going to get it, when you see it in the shops. If you can't find it in the shops, I understand that it's already available on the Mindclash website, so if you just Google Mindclash, I'm sure it'll come up. If you have any comments or suggestions, please write them down below, put in comments. I love to see some comments coming through. If you like my videos, please thumb them. If you haven't done so yet, please subscribe. It'll be on, I do this every time, it's on the side of the screen. Hit the button, subscribe to my videos so you can see what else I'm playing and what else I'm gamesplanating. I just made up a new word, gamesplanating. That's fun. Okay, keep that in. If you have any games that you wish to be gamesplained, please shoot me an email at thegamesplainer@gmail.com. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter to see what games I've been playing at The Gamesplainer. And until next time, enjoy gaming.